Now, crisscrossing 47 countries and counting in times of COVID is such a huge undertaking. What's the plan, really?
The plan was to get in front of the curve. We knew that the world had to, not that it wanted to, but it had to go green, and that this process must start. So to kick it into gear, we went to all the sites across our little planet where renewable energy can be generated in huge scale, and use that renewable energy to create green hydrogen, ammonia and electricity to start pushing the world and pushing government policymakers to go green, because we could say, look, no longer do you have the excuse you don't have the green energy, now you do.
Where are you headed from here, Andrew? I mean, presumably India is out of the question now. You've done 47 countries, signed deals with 7 governments at this point in time. What's the plan? Where do you go? Where are you headed?
We are currently speaking to a really large customer base. So we're here in Japan. We'll be going through Asia. We'll be going up into Europe. And then we'll also be speaking to our big supplier bases, which are Africa, Central Asia, Asia itself, of course. Australia will be a huge and very reliable supplier. And let's not forget Latin America, where we also have very large operations emerging. Now, there is a global pandemic, but climate change is not waiting for anyone, and not COVID-19. We need to get in front of that curve, so we're continuing to push ahead.
The big bad, Andrew, is on green hydrogen, whose technology is still at a nascent stage. I mean, do you see green hydrogen as a silver bullet for a net zero world?
Look, I absolutely do. The world will have a difficult 30 to 40%, which is just not going to be able to solve with electrification. Grey hydrogen or blue hydrogen or fossil fuels, they must all see their sunset. They must all come to the end of their day, because no matter which colour they call it, if it's not green, it's going to emit carbon and it's going to cause global warming. So Fortescue's mission, what we see, all the executive mission in life now, is to persuade the world and use ourselves as an example, not only that we can consume green hydrogen, because we're converting our trains not next decade, but next month. We're converting our trucks not next decade, but next month. Our ships, we're trialling right now with full-scale ship engines that you can use green hydrogen, you can use green ammonia, and at the same time we're saying it is a little lie, which the people of the world need to know is a lie, that there isn't green hydrogen. Green hydrogen, we are getting the technology, we're getting the transport right, and we're certainly building up the abundance so that the world, like Japan, South Korea, Europe, North America, can rely on green hydrogen as a way to power all that difficult part of the world, which you can't turn green with electrification. 1/3 to 40% of the carbon budget must come from another source of fuel which emits no carbon, emits no pollution, and that is green hydrogen.
But there is a problem. The cost of producing green hydrogen is still very high, and storage is still a key part of that puzzle. How quickly do you think technology will escalate? How quickly do you think scale can be reached?
Okay, let me give you an example. At Fortescue, I invested $4 billion initially and got to operating costs around $55 a tonne to create iron ore to ship to the world. Then we started this flywheel of improvement where we built up the supply, built up the demand, we lowered our costs, we brought in new technology from all over the world, not one hero technology, not one hero person, but thousands of people and thousands of different improvements and technologies. Right now, those operating costs aren't mid-50s, they're less than $14 a tonne. We brought it down by nearly 400%. So we're going to be pushing for the same track record with green hydrogen, green electricity. You saw it happen in solar. We can We can make it happen in hydrogen, but it's going to be a lot harder journey. We know that the battle is uphill, and we know the battle is going to be very tough. But this is a battle which we don't have a choice about. It is a battle the world must win.
China has many hydrogen projects, and as early as last week, you said that you're interested in working with China. What opportunities do you see there?
There's very large wind and solar projects which China is already pursuing. They know that their 2060 target is both toast, like the world's battle against global warming will be toast if we wait till 2060. So they're moving now. When we travel the world, we run into our friends from China everywhere. I mean, China is moving quickly, and they are good, solid, friendly competition, but we're saying China is actually turning green as fast as it possibly can. North America, under the Biden administration, is really showing fabulous leadership, and the Suga administration here in Japan are leading by example.
Andrew, give us a sense of who you're in talks with for deals in China.
Oh, look, all through Japan, through Europe, through Asia, China, we're speaking to all the big players and convincing them no longer is there an excuse that, yeah, we'd really love to use green hydrogen, but we have to use fossil fuel, or we have to use coal, or we have to use grey hydrogen or blue hydrogen, which is serious carbon-emitting fuels. And they say, well, we have to do that, Andrew, because we don't have green hydrogen. And I'm saying, no, the time has come. Green hydrogen is going to have its day, and the world will never go back to the rubbish bin. Once we climb out of the rubbish bin, that's it. This is a multi-generational change. This is a forever change. And we're saying to the world, the time to get out of the rubbish bin, the time to get out of the carbon toilet is now. Green hydrogen is your only answer to make that happen. Let's get on board. Let's back the players in who are committed to green hydrogen. Let's not take shortcuts. Let's not lie to the public or our consumers with fossil fuels or grey or blue. Let's go straight to what the solution is: zero carbon, green hydrogen.
Andrew, speaking of China, we're seeing escalating tensions between China and Australia. What do you make of the latest salvo from the Prime Minister himself?
Look, the Prime Minister can speak for the Prime Minister. I can speak for industry. What I say is that I see our national interest and China's national interest, and most importantly, humankind's national interest, is to put down the rhetoric and let's work together. We're not going to solve the plastification, the ruination of our oceans with plastic. We're not going to solve climate change. We're not going to solve these huge issues in the world by bickering amongst countries. I ask my friends in China, Australia, North America, Japan, Europe, to say, put not national interest, because really what you're saying is your political interest, at the heart of your conversation. Put humanity's interest at the heart of your conversation, and then you will find peaceful ways to work out the things you have in common as nations, and let's get after human rights. Let's get after huge environmental challenges like plastic and, of course, like global warming. These two are inextricably linked, and humankind cannot exist if they continue to exist. That's a bigger problem.
Andrew, given escalating tensions, do you see that perhaps we're a step closer towards China imposing some kind of curbs on iron ore exports from Australia to China? What's your take on that?
My take on that is I'd like all sides to calm down. I'd like everyone to say, let's act not in the national interest of the next election or just a few careers and call it the national interest in China or Australia or North America or that dreadful era which we've been through. Let's collaborate as nations and let's say, actually, bigger than bickering within nations, bigger than others. Let's, of course, protect human rights. I've stood for that all my life. But we've also now got to go after these huge threats coming at us, much bigger than we've ever considered. I'm talking much bigger than World War II, much bigger than World War I. The plastification of our oceans and the warming of our planet will cause way more deaths by a multiple than any of those wars. So let's just take a breather and say, let's act in our children's interest. Let's act in our born and unborn grandchildren's interest. Let's look with vision.
A report suggesting, Andrew, that perhaps Prime Minister Scott Morrison has approached you to help ease those tensions. Shed some light on that.
No, look, I am suggesting that the Prime Minister of Australia and the President of China, the President of the United States can speak for themselves. But as a citizen, one citizen of nearly 8 billion people, I'm asking all our national leaders to consider, when you walk out of that boardroom, when you walk out of that Congress, when you walk out of that Parliament, when you go and hug your children, when you go and hug your grandchildren, are you acting in their interest? Because while we bicker, the oceans are getting destroyed with plastic and the environment is getting destroyed by global warming. Green hydrogen is the solution, and we need to collectively, as a planet, as a group of nations, go for green hydrogen. Let's not betray our people again. Let's go for green energy. We now have the solution. Let's use it.
Andrew, before we let you go, we have to ask you about iron ore prices at 11-year highs. Give us a sense of whether or not you think prices will stay elevated.
Look, I think iron ore has a strong future, particularly if we can make it without any carbon or coal. I'm not going to get into the short-term guessing game if the prices are going to go up or down, but I say this. Steel and iron ore and concrete and all of these issues must go green. And we're working right now on a global mechanism to turn iron ore from being carbon dirty and steel from being carbon dirty with new technology, which will see beautiful iron and beautiful steel made without any emissions to the environment. Let's pursue these technologies. Let's make this happen.